All right, we'll see how this goes. I recorded about 14 things before jumping on here, and none of them picked up a voice. So either we're going to talk for about an hour and have a voice, or we're just going to have a video of us looking at each other. But
We'll learn.
we got the CJ and Hiller podcast going,
Yep.
presented by True Health Company. So happy to get on here and spend some time together and talking about things we enjoy and try to make the world a little more informed about healthcare, self-care, and being a better version of ourselves. So nothing like putting a podcast together just to talk and an excuse to spend some time together from afar. Co-host slash interviewee today is Hiller. Zach Hiller's an RN, CCRN. You'll have to tell me what that means. With advanced emergency medical training and intensive care experience. Hiller has a background in football, played college football at Wartburg College and multiple endurance races, a full marathon, and now more consistently in the CrossFit space, or at least the last couple of years for sure.
Yes.
And just kind of lay out the podcast in general. You know, our goal for the podcast is three things. One, spend quality time having meaningful conversations. Like that's what this is all about. This was our excuse for putting this together, was just meaningful conversations. Share our stories of living a healthy lifestyle that prioritizes health while still chasing goals every day in everyday life. And three, just share like our unique experience. I'm a physical therapist. Hiller's an RN in the like I said, a lot of emergency medical training and ICU experience. And we'll dive into that more. But just having careers across the spectrum of healthcare in today's age, just kind of unpacking that and how it impacts the way we view health and life overall. So personally, getting on here with a list of questions, healthcare questions and comments from listeners would be absolutely awesome. And just to explain things, you know, like we both have super unique experiences, but we're still both in healthcare. So to just get on here and talk about health, that's what True Health Company is all about. True Health Company is a business of education, and to have an outlet like this to share those perspectives and experiences to educate people sounds awesome. So send us your questions. All right, but today it's just about getting to know us and each other, and we'll see where the conversation leads. So, welcome.
Let's roll. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I could answer your question first about the CCRN. A
Yeah,
lot
go for it.
of apprehender people's names that are in the medical field and medical jargon. It stands for Critical Care Registered Nurse, which is an advanced certification that requires experience, time working with patients, and then studying and taking a test, passing that test by the American Association of Critical Care Nurses that puts it on, and then after that you become certified, and you promise them that you will keep up on your certs by doing continuing education credits through their website or through your employer.
Gotcha. So once you have that credential, you have that credential.
Yes, that's pretty cool. It's like a stamp
Nice.
of approval to you and your colleagues, your patients. They have it on your name tag, so they ask you about it. It reassures them that you care about your job and you went above and beyond to do the extra work, because it's not required,
Nice.
because you wanted to do it. You wanted to be more educated.
That's awesome. Cool. So let's take it back to the basics a little bit before we kind of dive into a little bit of everything. But just like what does the life of Hiller look like right now? What's a typical day look like? Typical week look like? Just kind of where you at? What have you been up to?
And that's a phenomenal question, because there's really nothing typical about it, which has been a challenge in which I'm trying to bring routine into. So, especially from a health health perspective, being a nurse, you don't really have a consistent schedule. Maybe sometimes you will have 3 days you'll work in a row. So maybe a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but then the next week you work Thursday, and then maybe Wednesday, Thursday next week, or a Tuesday, and then a Wednesday and a Friday. So you don't really have a lot of say in your schedule. You can ask for certain days. So that part adds a challenge in regards to um, training. I have to be a little bit more diligent, disciplined, motivated, because days that I work 7 to 7, um, got home late tonight, and so really the only time to get a workout in at the gym is go to the 5 a.m. class. And like most people, and you think 5 a.m., you're like, those people are crazy. And it is. It's so some days it is a 16, 17-hour day if I want to get a workout in, but that's what I want to do, and I prioritize health. If I'm going to talk the talk at work about nurse patients taking care of themselves, I need to walk the walk myself, take care of myself first.
For sure. I couldn't agree more with that. I mean, just like we learn so much about health and healthcare, and then to turn around and not walk the walk and represent what that should look like is hard, because then, like you said, the only way to do that is to wake up at 5 a.m. or hit a 5 a.m. class, wake up before that, and then you're working 7 to 7, so minimum 14-hour days of just straight work right there, and that's not easy to do over and over again. So then on your days off, are they a little more chill in the sense of like you'll
Yeah,
hit like a 9 a.m. class, or
I love my days off.
yeah?
Uh, so yeah, that I got pretty good routine down for my days off. We have 3 dogs that wake us up on my days off. If I'm not waking up early, they'll wake me up at 7:30. So that's pretty good. That's kind of sleeping in on my days off. Wake up, feed the dogs while they're eating. I eat breakfast, do my Bible study, let them outside, usually take them on a walk, go work out. Currently, and for the last 2.5 years, I've been teaching kickboxing. I got roped into that by my wife, and it's been a wonderful experience. I've learned a lot, and I enjoy it. So I will go work out and, like we were talking, walk the walk. So show up and work out with the members.
Nice.
There, work out side by side with them, and then come home, and I really try to. There's a lot of information out there, so I try to find one book to stick with and read, because I try to get pulled in different directions, because I love to learn so much stuff all the time. So find a book to read, spend time outside when we're not frigid cold up here in the Midwest, and do stuff around the house, stay busy, chores and stuff like that, and wait for my wife to get home and spend time with her. Really believe putting my family first on the days off. Sometimes when we're both working a bunch, we don't see each other, so we get a day off, and it's like, hey, let's go have a meal together, catch up.
Nice. Yeah, especially with 7 to 7, that eats away at routine for sure, but it also eats away at like that quality time. Like even like 4:10 still does too. It's like, is it worth that day off, or like is 5/8 kind of nice because you get to like sprinkle things in throughout the day? But especially with you and your nurse's schedule, like you've only known 12s, so like kind of nice in a way, because like you don't know any different, right? So you just
Yeah.
kind of make it work.
And you can get kind of close to scheduling yourself to get a few days off in a row.
Yeah, that's nice. That's super cool. Yeah, it's like there's the positives and negatives of both. It's like, oh, you only work 3 days a week. It's like, you know, for me and my routine, like if I only worked 3 days, but those 3 days were just like, you know, brutal. I don't think I would enjoy it. So
It, yeah, it's good perspective to have for healthcare workers that some of us love the 12s
mhm.
because we love the freedom when we're not there.
Yeah,
We will just put our head down and work hard for 3 days and then enjoy anywhere between 2 to 4 days off before we have to come back.
right,
Others like more consistency. So they want the 5 days a week, 4 days a week, 8 hours to 10 hours every single week. They know what they're going to get, and to each is their own.
right.
I work in an environment where that is absolutely not the case.
Um,
So, but I love it.
yeah. Well, and I mean, we're talking, you know, 5 days a week versus 3 days a week, but we're only talking days. You know, I mean, you take your schedule and flip that into 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and that's a whole nother beast in and of itself.
Turn it on its head right there.
Yeah, yeah, I can't imagine. But um, speaking of, where you mentioned reading, what are you reading right now? I'll share a
I'm
couple of mine that I got going.
really digging Ryan Holiday.
Yeah,
I really like his stuff. So with your company, did the reading challenge. That was in March.
yeah,
Read the Discipline is Destiny, and there's another book with that called Courage is Calling. I'm gonna butcher that. Uh, that and I was gravitated towards Dr. Kelly Starrett and his wife Juliet Starrett book Built to Move: The 10 Vital Signs. You betcha. And I have got 4 people to buy it now
really,
by just talking about it.
really, yeah. I haven't cracked it open. Like I'm literally showing it. It came in the mail 2 days ago, 3 days ago, something like that. And so I haven't even busted it open. But that's you were talking about books, and then I had both the books that we just got. So you
Hmm.
read that all the way through, and that was awesome.
The Built to Move.
Yeah,
I haven't finished it yet.
yeah,
I am. I'm pretty good about. I get about bare minimum half hour reading a day.
nice.
But on my days off, I like to do more than that.
Really dive in.
So, but yeah, Ryan Holiday and that book.
Nice.
And then what else? Oh, next on my list is the new David Goggins book.
Oh yeah, you finish that and send it to you.
Yeah, man, I'll take it. Anything, peop, crazy people who, the thinkers of the world that I just love to hear what they have to say, especially if I like something, one of their previous works that they've done. I really like to see what else they've done.
Right. Yeah, yeah, and kind of spinning off both of those authors, like Ryan Holiday. I read the first book I read of his was Obstacle is the Way in like April of 2020 during COVID. And so it
Hmm.
was one of those books that was just like right moment, right time, you know, in my life, that like every single page was like, oh my god, I'm going through this right now. And then the next page was like, oh my gosh, I'm going through this right now. And like it was just crazy. Like if I would have read that in 2017, like that book would have very little meaning. But it was like literally like the world was crashing down in April of 2020, March, April of 2020, and like that book was the book that we read when we were not working, right, and trying to figure out what was going on. So that was big. And Ryan Holiday's always been like super. I've followed his books like super close because of that timing, and then also just the stuff that he has to say. It's not, a lot of it's not what he has to say. It's what all of the great thinkers, like you said, have to say. And so he has a pretty cool perspective. But Kelly Starrett's like he's like the original, the OG for me as far as like what got me into healthcare and what got me into PT for sure. But I remember being at Wartburg and like any interview that he did on any podcast was like I would listen to it, and then he'd be a guest the next week on a different podcast and I'd listen to that. And like I just for whatever reason, like the way he explained things, I could just like soak up every word that he said, like just like was explained so well and like meshed in my with what I was trying to understand. And so like I feel like a big background of knowledge of like PT for me and how the body works and how the body moves in general, and like even how I talk to patients every day is like 100% like Kelly Starrett driven. And so um, I'm excited to dive into this book, and I feel like they took a dip a little bit, but now I've gotten back into their steady
You
state podcast, and so it's good quality stuff for sure.
it's very, very basic
Right.
with the vital signs, which I need right now.
Yeah.
Because of all the information out there about supplements and the he mentions it, the $1 trillion fitness industry. There's so much stuff. What do you filter
Right.
to go off of? And this book is great because it breaks it down very basic, and it starts with sitting down and standing up,
Yeah.
and you're like, great, I can do this.
That's funny. But they always say, like, the simpler you can explain something, the more you actually understand it, right? And, like, that's, like, because he can explain it so basic for, like, anyone to absorb, just shows, like, how knowledgeable he actually is on that topic and just general health. And so, yeah, he's absolutely fantastic. But with some of your takeaways
So,
for movement, for vitals, for all of that stuff, like anything you've changed recently, like health wise,
oh yeah,
or
oh yeah. The book is built to where you work as you read.
hmm,
That's really unique. Like I was in my backyard in the grass trying to sit down and into the crisscross applesauce and stand up in the back as I was reading it.
mm-hmm,
Like, explain. Now try this.
right,
Do these tests. Now try this, this, and this to improve.
right,
And you get yourself a score. Then the second one is breathing. So talks about how, you know, the breath has taken off about it's always been there, but then, James Nestor's book, Breathe, it was a big, huge hit and kind of brag about the mouth, the tape over the mouth, breathing through the nose, about how important that is and stuff like that. And each vital sign has a test. You score yourself, and then they give you further exercises to do to improve that.
gotcha,
And then they just want you to slowly adapt these into your everyday life. And I mean, they're super basic. So sit, stand, breathe, walk,
well,
squat. Like, and those are some of the ones that I grazed over, but I got a long ways to go in the book.
yeah, cool. How about training wise in general for you? Anything you're getting after right now or got on the schedule?
Murph's coming up.
Murphy's coming out.
Uh, my lovely father wants to do it.
Has he done it before?
He has not.
Nice.
So I really want him to do it. Maybe not all the pull-ups, maybe some ring rows, modify, scale down.
Yeah.
My dad, for everybody out there, my dad's 55, going to be 56. So he's done like 3 CrossFit workouts in his life. I don't want to burn him out.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of getting a team together and doing a Ragnar event.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. I have a Spartan list on my bucket list. Just like I'm in this phase where I want to do, like, for so long I was like, I have to be doing this 12-week program training at CrossFit, and if I'm not getting better, I'm not. I put a lot of my fitness self-worth into that.
Yeah.
Instead of, I can try new things, have fun, still do fitness, be fit, and try new things. Visited my sister out in Colorado. She's in med school. Dakota and I, my wife, we went to a cycle bar class.
Right.
Never done one of those. So just like
Right.
trying new things. Have fun with fitness that keeps you coming back and enjoying it.
For sure. And it's hard too, and like, I mean, I can like hear like 8 conversations in the past year with my wife, and like, what am I going to do next? You know, what's my next physical goal? What's my next challenge? And like, the consistency for me has created this space of like, well, I don't need to be training for something, but I need to be training for, because 10 years down the road, you know, I don't want to be 2 steps backwards, or 1 year down the road, I don't want to be 2 steps backwards. So I've definitely like, and maybe it's like 30 creeping up a little bit too, but like, you know, what's life look like? And it's honestly like, the perspective has gone like further in the horizon. And so it's made it easier to just like work out every day. Where before it was like, oh my God, I have to train so hard this week. You know, and it's like, for
Yeah.
what? And then you feel good or you don't feel good. And then like, yeah, you put so much self-worth into that. But now knowing like, well, as long as I'm fitter than I in 5 years than I am now, like, I'll be happy. And so then it's like, oh, I have 5 years to get there. Like, oh yeah, I can chip away at that. Like, I can work out tomorrow, you know?
Mm.
And so I totally agree. And like that, doing something like Ragnar, the Spartan race, is more of like, I don't know, it sounds cheesy saying it now, because like 5 years ago it would have been like, I would have never said it, but like the celebration of, you are fit, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's why you get to do these things. So I've stumbled across High Rocks. Have you heard of that?
I have not.
No. And so I was listening to a podcast. My dad sent it to me, and it's like this new, they call it a sport. And so you can think of like triathlon, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the best comparison, is like, you train however you want for whatever you want, but then this High Rocks sport is an 8K run broken up. So you run 1K, and then you do like, I don't know the order, but it's the same thing every time. So it's 1K run, and then lunges, and then a 1K run, and then burpee broad jumps, and then a 1K run and a sled push, and a 1K run, and like, you do a 1K run, and then there's 8 things in between each of those 1K runs.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I
Sounds
kind of stumbled
like
across it,
fun.
and yeah, it's like an international. It's super popular internationally, and they're like kind of working their way over to the U.S. They have like 5 locations, 6 locations in the U.S. or something like that, as far as like where they do the event. But yeah, so that's kind of on the docket for this year, is like, figure out what that is a little bit more and jump into it.
Yeah.
So, but it's still one of those things where it's like, train however you want, but go put yourself out there and try something new.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you take care of yourself, and you should be able to enjoy that type of movement. You really have perspective when, as your parents get older. For me, anyway, my parents would remind me when I was younger, it'd be like, Dad, 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 come on, play catch with me. Do this, do this, do this. And I feel like that little kid still somewhere in me. And I'm like, Dad, Dad, let's go do a Spartan race. And he's like, oh, can't do that.
Right.
And I was like, well, you could. Like, I can look looking 5-10 years down the road, like I want to be able to do that
Right.
with it, like, but not train like somebody, not like, well, not train for months, but like someone dropped the hat, like, hey, 2 weeks from now, you want to do this, and I would be able to do it.
Right. For sure. For sure. And it's just setting up your environment, setting up your values, and setting up, and like we're saying, it's not easy because you work 12 hours a day, and then you wake up and you work 12 hours a day again. Like, it's not always like the easy thing to do to train, but if you want to live the life you want to live, then you have to train. Like, you don't have another option, right? Like, and
Yeah.
it's okay to do that. It's okay to prioritize health, and it's okay to prioritize like fitness in the sense of activity so that you can live the life you want to live. Because I guarantee if you don't prioritize those things, you can't live the life you want to live. Or you're lying to yourself and saying, well, I didn't want to go for that hike anyway. It's
Mhm.
like, yeah, you did. I don't want to do a Spartan race. That doesn't sound fun. It's like, yeah, it does. That's just your excuse because you didn't put the
Yeah.
work in, right? Like, I mean, that's getting a little dramatic there, but essentially, like, if you're not doing it that way, like, that's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. We have a like a little mantra or credo or ethos is kind of what Ryan Holiday would say in the family about, like, when things get hard or something happening, something you tell yourself, you know? And one of those is we have it written on a paper on our fridge is healers do hard things.
Right.
So when things get tough, you're like, well, this is what we're meant to
Well,
do.
that's cool. That's cool. And like, following that Ryan Holiday thing is like, the obstacle is the way, right? Like, it's not hard. It is the thing. It's in front of you for a reason, right? You're not supposed to go around it. You're supposed to go right through it because
Yep.
because you can do hard things, right? So, no, that's super cool. And to just have that reminder right in front of you all day, every day, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Kind of like, well, another, just quick here, Rich Froning and the bison analogy.
mhm,
Obstacle is the way, same as into the storm.
right,
They turn and walk right into the storm because it's shorter that way instead of walking right along with it, and you're going to be in the storm longer. Turn around, face it head on. It's going to be harder,
right,
but it'll be over faster.
yeah, yeah, and build a little resiliency because of it, right?
Correct.
So that's cool. Um, So I'll ask you a question that I ask everybody on a True Health class. So between nutrition, exercise, sleep, and managing stress, those four things, which one is your best and why, and which one is your worst and why?
I'm going to change my answer. I'm going to say my best, if we're not working on a house project, would be stress management. But I attest to the fact that when it comes to working on things around the house, I need a lot of patience and grace because I understand what I don't know and ask for help.
Yeah,
But lately, I have a pretty stressful job.
that's fair.
So 12 hours of stress all day long, every day. And a lot of very anxious, stressed out families that come up to me and ask me many, 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 many questions, sometimes repeating themselves. And I feel very comfortable in those
Yeah,
situations. I'm able to handle the stress pretty good. Now, something that I have sucked for a long time is sleep. And part of that is the nature of my job, switching between days and nights. I had colleagues laugh at me because of my robust sleep regimen, where I go into the room and turn on a lavender diffuser an hour before we go to sleep, play Native American flute music in the background to calm us an hour before sleep, and turn the lights down in the house, decrease stimuli, not look at the phone, all those things. And then we spray pillows with lavender scent too. I mean, we go ham. So that can get some good sleep. And we used to wear a fitness tracker so I could tell sleep, and Dakota and I were wearing them together, and we go to bed at the exact same time. And she would wake up an hour before me, and she would get 2.5 hours more sleep than I would.
Really?
I'm not a good sleeper.
Yeah.
So that makes me go down the road of trying to look at see what there is out there for supplements, and listening to Dr. Andrew Huberman and his booming podcast about what there is out there, but also a little hesitant with my healthcare knowledge and background of trying new stuff without knowing if there's some legitimacy behind it.
For sure.
Yeah, sleep is a constant work. Without taking something, I know the biggest thing I could do is consistency.
Yeah.
No matter what day of the week it is, going to bed at the same time, waking up around the same time, which has not been good recently.
Yeah. And that's tough. And it sucks, and sleep plays such a role into everything else. It's funny. Like, you could pick one of those things and be like, well, that's the most important because it affects all the others, right? Like, you could say sleep is the most important because it affects your nutrition, exercise, and stress, right? You could pick nutrition and say, well, your nutrition is the most important because it affects your exercise, sleep, and stress the most, right? Like, it's true. It's just a matter of, like, for you as an individual, like, what does it do? And I mean, I can't say I'm surprised that you go to those extended lengths to get that good of sleep, but
I won't deny laughing at me, because it is. I've never had to do this in my life, so.
But it's cool. Like, you're trying it, right? And, like, figuring out what works and, like, putting the effort into, like, hey, I know this is an important piece of the puzzle. So what can I do to make sure that puzzle piece can fit, right? And, like, not just leaving it off to the side and being like, it's not that big of a deal. It is. So figuring it out is super important. Cool.
You want to grab my charger? It's really not there. I'll plug it in my computer and plug in my phone. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions? Anything else we want to hit on? I know we got a couple more, but we're kind of buzzing right through this thing and wrapping it up here.
I guess. What do we do for fun? Like, fitness is fun, but what else are we doing for fun?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I wonder that sometimes.
Working so much, and then knowing I have to take care of myself in the background.
Yeah.
Am I allowing myself to have fun?
Yeah. No, I get that. Like, what do you guys do besides work and fitness? What do you like to?
That'd probably be a question that we get.
Yeah.
Which the honest truth answer is not much.
Yeah.
Oh, Cole, hang on. There we go. We are making it a priority this summer to get away and go up north, visit my newly retired parents in their new home, which used to be the cabin, but now it's called home.
Nice.
Spend time on the lake.
Nice.
Get away as much as we possibly can, and understand that work's always going to be there.
Right.
So we're really going to try that for the entire month of July. we're going to get up there as much as we can.
Yeah, that's cool. And a good time of year to do it, you know. I mean, northern Minnesota in summer, like it's kind of like heaven on earth too. Like there's not much better than that, and so to just be able to get away and like leave it all there, like you said, it's gonna be there, it's gonna keep going, and um, but I get it, right? Like work is stressful, and you put time and effort into it because you care about it too. So like yeah, like there's always going to be stress there, but it's almost like, well, good, because you care, you know, and like it's not an easy job by any means, but and then same thing with taking care of yourself, right? Like the health side of things, the fitness side of things, like it's always going to be there, but good, because then you can, you know, kind of earn the relaxation a little bit too,
Yeah.
you know. And that's, I think, always the fear for myself is like, you know, when you're relaxing, it's like, did you earn it, or are you
Mm-hmm.
just
What am I doing here?
procrastinating the stuff that you should be doing, you know? So it's a fine line and a fun balance to play every day, because sometimes that some days that scale tips quicker than others.
I have that conversation, the internal dialogue, a
Yeah.
lot, especially on my days off. Like I'm sitting down and I go, what could I be doing not only to better myself, but to ease the stress of Dakota?
Yeah.
I have that a lot. Like, what would make her less stressed when she got home?
Right.
Guess what I've learned through a lot of failure what that is. And so I'm trying every single day to do that. And I take that pretty seriously. So when I don't do something or something's not done around the house, and I make time for myself, you can set timers so that I say it, don't get lost in the sauce. You're not spending hours doing something.
Mm-hmm.
You can cut yourself off, pick up on something else later so that you can move on and get more accomplished.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's funny, like, I mean, you taught me that in school, right? Like you were doing that way back when, even when you were studying, right? Like 45 minutes, 10-minute break, 45 minutes, 10-minute break, right? And like,
That's by default because I can't concentrate
yeah,
longer than that.
but it works, right? And it keeps you from, it's like, okay, I know there's an end in sight, right? It's even like working out. But I mean, I took that from you and I used that the rest of my time at school and then on to PT school. Like that's literally for 3 years in PT school, like how I studied every minute of every night, was there was a timer set and then there was a break. And so taking that into now life in general is good, because it shows that you don't have to get everything done all at the same time. You can just do a little bit and keep making progress. So
Yeah, I'm trying to be that 1% better every day, not anything more than that, because 1% over a whole year is a lot. 365% better.
right,
So
it's crazy.
I think a lot of us try to do more, try to get more done in the day when it comes to training or projects around the house or trying to get so much done. It's like, did I get better today? Did I get 1% better today? What did I do to get better? And then do it again the next day
Right,
and the next. And then we get back to talking about consistency again and how important that is because it's cumulative.
right. Yeah, I would say consistency builds confidence, right? Like you have to do something enough times to give yourself a reason to be confident. And if you're doing everything all at once and then don't do it for a week, you're not going to get any better, right? So break it up, make it small, and keep moving forward. And whether that is work, whether that is home, whether that is a relationship, like it's just showing up every day for sure. But showing up every day that in a way that is a building block, right? Not showing up
Correct.
and laying down 3 bricks to build and then the next day tearing one down, right? Like,
Yeah,
doing good every day.
I like to talk about that a lot, especially when I'm coaching kickboxing. I'm very happy that you showed up today, and I applaud them for showing up. But now it's time to put in the work.
Right.
Walk through the door to work out here. That's great, but that's like less than 50%.
Yeah.
Like, we got you there. We like to talk about how showing up is majority of the work. Once you show up, then you got to work.
Yeah.
And so I try to instill that, because it's like, if you go through the motions while you're working out, you're not getting what you could have got done while you were there, and you can end up wasting time.
Right. Even if you think 50% of the battle is showing up, that other 50% was completely fucking wasted, because
Yeah. Not only you wasted that time there, you didn't get anything accomplished. So sometimes I come off a little bit harsh when I say that, for new people in the fitness industry, and I tread lightly when I say it for people that are new to fitness. I want to scare them away, but definitely for the people who have been doing it for a while, I get on them about that. I'm like, you've been doing this a while. Showing up's not enough anymore.
Yeah. For sure. I think that's a good spot to end it.
Okay.
I mean, just, it's a good message too to send. Like, we're here, we're doing this, but we're here and we're going to do it again tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I found Chris Williams. Maybe I'm saying that wrong. Modern Wisdom podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
I follow that too.
I was just listening to one the other day on him, and he was talking about, like, I mean, this is episode 1 of podcast, right? He said like 99% of podcasts don't make it past episode 20, maybe he said. So it was like, all right,
fuel my fire.
yeah. And so I'm like, all right, like 21, here we come, right? Like,
Yeah.
we should have just started this thing at 21, because it's like,
Right.
like, we have no option other than to get there because of that. But that's the thing, is like, that example right there, and like tying it into this, is like, just do it, right? Like, show up and then show up again, and be consistent, and you can be 1%. You can be 1% better every day, but you can be in that top 1% pretty darn quick, just by showing up and being consistent and putting in the work.
Isn't that something? Just being that top 1%, just by showing up, constantly showing up. Right. There's no magic potion, no special thing. Just keep showing up, and you'll be at the top 1%.
For sure. Awesome. All right, man.
All right, I'll catch you next month.
Yeah, sounds good. Have a good night. Tell
Dakota hi. Take care. Oh, I will.
All right.
Tell Kelly hi.
I will.
Make sure you tell the little one hi too.
I will.
All right, see ya.
See ya.